videos that I've done, I've tried to concentrate on the Europeans and the Native Americans having a neighborly relationship, but that didn't come first. There were, history teaches us that there were many conflicts between the whites and the Native American Indians. A lot of carnage. And this video is about just such an insurrection. About the middle of July 1782, 7 Wyandott Indians crossed the Ohio River a few miles above Wheeling and committed great depredations upon the southern shore, killing an old man whom they found alone in his cabin, and then spreading terror through the area. Now 8 men assembled from different parts of that small settlement, and they pursued the enemy with revenge on their minds. Now, among the most active and efficient of the party were 2 brothers, Adam and Andrew Poe. They had not traveled the trail far before they became satisfied that the attacks were being led by the renowned Wyandott Chief Bigfoot. And as one might suspect, his name came from the immense size of his feet, but also he was just an immense person. So now Adam Poe was overjoyed at the idea of measuring his strength with that of so celebrated an Indian chief, and he urged the pursuit with keenness that soon brought him in the vicinity of his enemy. For the last few miles, the trail had led them up the southern bank of the Ohio River, where the footprints in the sand were deep and obvious, but when within a few hundred yards of that point, at which the whites as well as the Indians were in the habit of crossing, it suddenly diverged from the stream and stretched along a rocky bridge. Here Adam halted for a moment and directed his brother and the other young men to follow the trail with proper caution, while he himself still adhered to the river path, which lay a cluster of willows directly to the point where he was supposed that the enemy was lying. Having examined the priming of his gun, he crept cautiously through the bushes until he had a view of the point of embarkation, and here lay 2 canoes that the Indians were close at hand. He relaxed nothing of his vigilance, and gaining a jutting cliff which hung immediately over the canoe, he peered cautiously over and beheld the object of his search. The gigantic Bigfoot lay below him in the shade of a willow and was talking in a low, deep tone to another warrior who seemed to be a mere pygmy by his side. Adam cautiously drew back and cocked his gun. The mark was fair, the distance did not exceed 20 feet, and his aim was unerring. Raising his rifle slowly and cautiously, he took a steady aim at Bigfoot's breast, and he drew back the trigger, and the gun flashed. Both Indians sprang to their feet with deep interjection of surprise, and Adam was too much hampered by the bushes to retreat, and setting his life upon a cast of the die, he sprang over the bush which had sheltered him, and summoning all of his power, leaped boldly down the precipice upon the breast of Bigfoot with a shock that bore him to the earth. Now, at the moment of contact, Adam had thrown his right arm around the neck of the smaller Indian, so that all 3 came to the earth at once, and at that moment a sharp firing was heard among the bushes above, announcing that the other parties were thus engaged. But the trio below were too busy to attend to anything but themselves. Bigfoot was, for an instant, stunned by the violence of the shock, and Adam was unable to keep them both down. But the exertion necessary for that purpose was so great that he had no chance to use his knife. Bigfoot quickly recovered, and without attempting to rise, wrapped his long arm around Adam's body and pressed him to his breast with a crushing force of a boa constrictor. Now Adam instantly relaxed his hold on the smaller Indian, who sprang to his feet. Bigfoot then ordered him to run for his tomahawk, and which lay within 10 steps, and to kill the white man while he held him in his arms. And Adam, seeing his danger, struggled manfully to extricate himself from the folds of the giant, but that was in vain. The small Indian approached with his uplifted tomahawk, but Adam watched him closely. And he, as he was about to strike, gave him a kick so sudden and violent as to knock the tomahawk out of his hand and send him staggering back into the water. But the smaller Indian approached, and carefully avoiding Adam's heels and making many motions with his tomahawk in order to deceive Adam as to which point where the tomahawk would fall. Such was Adam's dexterity and vigilance, however, that he managed to receive the tomahawk in a glancing direction upon his left wrist, wounding him deeply but not disabling him. He now made a sudden and desperate effort to free himself from the arms of the giant, and he succeeded. Instantly, snatching up a rifle, for the Indian could not venture to shoot for fear of hurting his companion, he shot the smaller Indian through the body. But scarcely had he done this when Bigfoot arose, and placing one hand upon his collar and the other upon his hip, he pitched him into the air as if he might have pitched a mere child. Adam fell upon his back at the edge of the water, but before his antagonist could spring upon him, he was again upon his feet, and stung with rage at the idea of being handled so easily, he attacked the gigantic antagonist with a fury which for a time compensated for inferiority of strength. It was now a fair fist fight between them, and for in a hurry of the struggle, neither had an opportunity to draw his knife. Adam's superior activity and experience as a pugilist gave him great advantage. The Indian struck awkwardly, and finding himself rapidly dropping to his leeward, he closed with the antagonist and again hurled. They quickly rolled into the river, and the struggle continued with unabated fury, each attempting to drown the other. The Indian, being unused to such violent exertion, and having been much injured by the first shock in his stomach, was unable to exert the same power which he had given him such a superiority at first. Now, Adam, seizing him by the scalp lock, put his head under water and held him there until the faint struggles of the Indian induced him to believe that he was indeed drowned. And when he relaxed his hold and attempted to draw his knife, then the Indian, however, instantly regained his feet and in his turn put his adversary under. In a struggle, both were carried out of the current beyond their depth, and each was compelled to let go of his hold and to swim for his life. There was still one loaded rifle upon the shore, and each swam hard in order to reach it. But the Indian proved the more expert swimmer, and Adam, seeing that he should be too late, turned and swam out into the stream, intending to dive and thus frustrate his enemy's intentions. At this instant, Andrew, having learned that his brother was alone in a struggle with two Indians and in great danger, ran up hastily to the bank above in order to assist him. Another white man followed him closely, and seeing Adam in the river covered with blood and swimming rapidly from the shore, mistook him for an Indian and fired upon him, wounding him dangerously in the shoulder. Adam turned, and seeing his brother, called loudly upon him to shoot the big Indian on shore, and Andrew's gun, however, was empty, having just been discharged. Fortunately, Bigfoot also had an empty gun, having seized the one which Adam had shot the Indian with. The contest was now who should load first. Bigfoot poured his powder first, and drawing his ramrod out of its sheath, in too great a hurry, he threw it into the river, and while he ran to recover it, Andrew gained the advantage. Still, the Indian was but seconds too late, for his gun was at his shoulder when Andrew's ball entered his breast. The gun dropped from his hands, and he fell forward upon his face, upon the very margin of the river. Andrew, now alarmed for his brother, who was scarcely able to swim, threw down his gun and rushed into the river and brought his brother ashore. And Adam Poe recovered from his wounds and lived many years after his conflicts, but never forgot the tremendous hug which he sustained in the arms of Chief Bigfoot. And Chief Bigfoot sounds like he could have had some actual Bigfoot blood in him by his size. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed the story. It's an alleged true story. I'd never happened across that account before. So, well, that's what I got for you this time. I hope that you enjoyed. Again, I love every one of you on the other side of that monitor, and I want you to please be safe, be happy, be healthy, and I will see you again, God willing, real soon.